Cloverfield might be the weirdest trilogy of movies of all time. I mean, think about it. I don't think I can name any 3 movies that are so different from each other. It's like if Room, the acclaimed intimate family drama about an abducted mother and child taking place in mostly one bunker, was the sequel to Godzilla. So today we're going to take a look at this series of films and see what exactly connects these 3 movies. What is a Cloverfield movie? What is a Cloverfield? What is that, like a wedding spot in Ireland?
Oh, there's another one right there! Oh my god!
When I think of the first Cloverfield movie, I think mystique, mystery. This movie was sold on one thing and one thing alone. Something is destroying New York City and you want to know what that is. You want to see that monster. A defining characteristic of not only this movie, but turns out all 3 of these movies, is a completely outside-the-box marketing campaign. The first glimpse that anyone ever got of Cloverfield was a brief handheld clip that played right before Transformers. There's a party going down. Some shit goes sideways outside, and suddenly, the head of the Statue of Liberty just flattened my bodega guy. The teaser ends, no title, no monster, just a producer credit. That's it. Okay, JJ, your mystery box has me in the first half, not gonna lie. Everything about this movie was a mystery. Even the title, Cloverfield, as far as we know, means nothing. I guess the story goes that one of the producers was just driving home one day and saw the word on a street sign. It kind of adds to the mystery, it being this like code name for this secret event that took place. Which doesn't really work, considering this movie ends with New York City getting firebombed. I don't really think that's gonna be much of a secret going forward. There was really only one other movie that had done this before, and to similar effect. And that would be a little festival horror darling called The Blair Witch Project. Turns out, after you see this movie kind of owes a lot to The Blair Witch Project. When all said and done, Cloverfield's marketing was a kind of studio version of what Blair Witch achieved with its indie scene a few years prior. Studio big shots saw the success of Blair Witch and thought, hey, let's do that. This marketing was brilliant for lots of reasons. It even flowed downstream to me as a kid. I mean, just look at this poster and tell me it doesn't inspire some sort of awe.
So no head?
When I was a kid, I would see clips of this movie online. The movie had already come out, but I feel like I watched the whole movie out of order. I was eager, dying to see any glimpse of this giant monster thing. What did it look like? Where did it come from? That marketing campaign chewed me up and spit me out. It had me under its spell and I had to know. The only problem was, I was 10. But that wasn't gonna stop me! I was too young to watch it, too scared to rent it, and by the time I finally sat down and watched the movie years later, I'd pretty much already seen the entire thing, just out of order on YouTube. And the result was, I think Cloverfield is a movie that is more than the sum of its parts, but doesn't quite come together as more than just a kind of cool experiment. There is one key element that sets Cloverfield's marketing apart from Blair Witch, though, sort of evolving that initial concept of selling you on the fact that this movie was found footage, truly back when that genre's title had a meaning. Genuinely, the footage that is presented to you as if it is found, the found footage. And that differentiating element would be the ARG, or the alternate reality game, which is the biggest and arguably most innovative part of this marketing strategy. Basically, it was an incredibly effective and creative way to use this hip new thing to market a movie. What if we use this interesting new thing called the internet? And yeah, similar to the effect Blair Witch Project had in 1999, it was incredibly effective. When it was finally released, Blair Witch Project made 4,000 times its original budget, which, as far as I understand, was a piece of string and 2 Ritz crackers. Only instead of a group of indie filmmakers trying to get into Sundance, it was Hollywood trying to get your ass in seats. And they pretty much went beat for beat here, the use of a secret codename for the film, using the internet to create websites and fake profiles for characters in the movie. The marketing of Cloverfield owes everything to Blair Witch, building upon what that movie did for the festival market into a more traditional genre action movie market. I mean, it did play before Transformers after all. Only Cloverfield took it and expanded it, even hiring the man responsible for another mystery-built movie campaign, Stargate. What's behind the fucking portal? Whoa! With the backing of studio money, they could really put a lot more resources behind the fleshing out of this world online. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of it because there's 1,000 different videos breaking down the lore of Cloverfield, but basically they use various websites and posts as kind of an online Easter egg hunt type game that people can follow the breadcrumbs along to, revealing more and more about the world and characters, all with the hopes of uncovering something, anything about this fucking monster. So in a way, the Blair Witch Project was kind of the granddaddy of viral online marketing, and Cloverfield was the natural store-bought next step expansion. Cloverfield's campaign was a major studio, Paramount, co-opting that cool Blair Witch indie thing that they're doing. It's funny because you hear all about this mysterious marketing and the ARGs and the ABCs and the OBGYNs, and there's all this stuff and theories and lore that spiderwebs into other stuff, and then you get to the actual movie itself that all this is built around, and you watch it and it's like, it's fine. So let's talk about it. Cloven time. When you think of Cloverfield, I would argue that you don't think about the movie itself. You think about the premise, the monster, the cool and unique marketing campaign, and the mystery behind the movie. So going back and watching the actual thing without that context, yeah, I mean, it's alright, but I have a question that might undermine all of this. So you see all this time and money and innovation going into this marketing campaign, and quick question, does a mysterious viral marketing campaign even work with this film's premise? Stay with me, but going back to Blair Witch for a second, it's a movie based on folklore, local myths, and mysterious disappearances of people. Could the Blair Witch be real? Is it just legend? That's the whole crux of the movie and the story. That's what our three characters set out into the woods to find. The movie, in our world, is treated like a recovered bit of footage from a camera you found in the woods, and that's what we're watching. So to translate that same air of mystery and intrigue into a giant fucking monster attacking the biggest city in the world would not be my first idea. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's very cool. It's an unconventional way to market the movie, but what exactly are we supposed to believe here? Blair Witch is something that could have happened in our reality, but the sheer scale of what happens in Cloverfield is just way too huge to be a government cover-up. I mean, I live in New York City. I think I would notice if a giant praying mantis went face first through the MetLife building. But then again, maybe not. I think that might be a little difficult to cover up. You know, it's the most high-profile thing imaginable happening in the most high-profile place possible. So I question this whole entire thing, but it is cool that the film itself plants the seeds of the monster's origin for you to find if you are paying attention to the ARG. That's a tough line to walk. You know, you don't want people who aren't aware of the ARG to be left out of the loop, but you also don't want the ARG folks to go completely unrewarded. No doubt, it makes the film feel bigger than itself, and arguably builds it out into a whole universe with just one relatively small scale for a disaster movie, but I guess I'm just questioning if the whole thing was worth the effort. Say it with me, bad robot. Oh, they didn't say it. From producer JJ John Jacob Abrams comes Cloverfield. Our film follows resident stock white guy, Rob, who very graciously, knowing that he's the main character in an action movie, refuses to be interesting or distinct in any way. How kind of him. Rob wakes up in a sweet New York City apartment overlooking the park and gets back into bed with his will they won't they already did situationship chick named Beth. And this couple is immediately insufferable.
I'm interested in other things.
Like what?
Like you.
Right after, we're also introduced to another major character in this movie, and that's the super jarring and quote-unquote grounded editing style. In these types of movies, it's key to get the audience to believe that what they're actually seeing could be real. And what could be more real than filming a bunch of random stupid bullshit that you'll never watch later? This is a little weird and confusing later on when clips of Beth and Rob's date to Coney Island are randomly spliced in at times wherever the movie feels like giving us some more exposition, or to remind us how in love they are. I guess the idea is that the SD card in the camera is damaged, leading to clips on it being all jumbled around, but I've never seen that happen in my entire life. So considering that this movie is going to hinge on the relationship between these two, I can't really say I'm rooting for them. We see them for about 2 seconds, and in these 2 seconds, they just kind of pose around, and she acts like a dead wife flashback, all giggly and shit. And we're introduced to our other major character, who's going to be holding the camera for most of this movie, Hud. Hud, get it? Played by TJ Miller, and while you could say a lot about TJ Miller nowadays, I mean, it's not like the movie reflects his pushy behavior toward women. Oh, well, props to this movie for hardly showing his face at least. So Hud's whole deal is that he's into this Ramona Flowers knockoff type chick, Marlena.
Yeah, no, I get what you're doing, I don't want to do it, but thank you.
Oh, cool, she seems really fun and into it. Bold choice for this movie to show TJ Miller being pushy with women. I commend its authenticity and adherence to the craft. Hud teaches us that 2 no's actually means yes, and the two start to hit it off. Thank you for pressuring women, TJ Miller. Another lesson learned.
I'm not a professional. I'm HUD.
Hug?
No.
I like her. Hud's commentary for this movie is meant to act like a little comic relief over all this very heavy, scary shit going on, which isn't a terrible idea on paper.
What is
It's a terrible thing. Let's go.
I mean, it beats the usually dead silent camera person you get in these types of things. Problem is, he's pretty annoying most of the time.
What time do the choppers take off? 0600. What time is that? 6 o'clock. Yeah, okay, I knew that.
Take a shot every time he says something like, I'm documenting, people are gonna wanna see this. Which is kind of funny since the characters in the movie are annoyed by him too. Like this whole party scene, the first 20 minutes is him going around to people and them just kind of being weirded out by him. So is this movie gonna be about HUD learning how to be more confident and connect with people or something? No. This movie is about Big Monster. Did you even see Big Monster? Stupid. Let's play a round of our favorite game. Why are we still filming this? As far as found footage movies go, it's a pretty decent excuse to keep filming all the shit going on and doesn't really bother me for the majority of the movie. Though, as shit goes down later and they start brawling like animal-sized parasite creatures, I don't know about you, but I'm swinging that camera like a rock at those things. So I don't know, it goes in like B-tier level found footage excuses between Rec 1 and 2. Hey, check that video out. So Rob likes Beth, and Beth showed up with this guy. Ooh, wasn't there supposed to be a monster in this movie? Basically, if the movie wasn't shot this way, it would be a terrible story, like on the level of an episode of Zack and Cody or something. No hate. What, is it gonna turn out that the guy she brought is her cousin? Oh, what a misunderstanding. Yeah, okay. Oh, don't worry. We don't just get one relationship we don't give a shit about. We get 3 relationships we don't give a shit about. Rob and Beth, Jason and Lily, and the budding, not at all creepy, no drugs involved whatsoever, relationship between HUD and Marlena. You could say it's serviceable enough to get us to care about the characters, but it's not, and I don't.
Did you switch the tape? Because I had a tape in there.
Tape? Rob, it actually explicitly says that it's recovered from an SD card, so... I mean, I'd say they're acting like a bunch of middle schoolers passing rumors around, but this is totally how adults in the city speak to each other.
Good luck in Japan.
Good luck tonight, Travis.
Haha, yeah, you're fucking the girl I like. What? Yeah, that'll show him, Rob.
You're not good enough for her. That's it.
2008, back at a time where down on your luck 20-something white guy meant SVP of a major corporation. I should update my resume. So the movie remembers its premise 20 minutes in, and shit goes down mid-conversation with the boys at the most random time, I might add. Oh, hey, did you guys hear that? And there's not really much to say about the next chunk of the movie. They go outside, they see some explosions, see Lady Liberty's noodle like in the trailer, and start meandering toward the bridge, which gets destroyed, and Rob's brother Jason, that was Jason, gets tentacled. And not in a good way. That's a shame, but luckily everyone seems to get over it pretty quickly, so as the movie goes on, we catch glimpses of the thing and get to sort of piece together more and more of what it could look like. Alright, so here we learn that the thing has tentacles. Spoiler alert, no it doesn't. I mean, I guess you could say that this was like a larval stage of the thing or something, but that's kind of less fun if the thing keeps changing its shape over time, right? Isn't the whole point is that you want to see what the thing looks like? Anyway, they head back and have a bit of a breakdown. This breakdown was brought to you by Sephora. And Rob states his goal for this movie like halfway in, making the first third of this movie feel super aimless. So he makes a decision, mans up, and decides, I have to stop Travis from fucking Beth. No, I'm just kidding, but he does have to save her though. We get some better glimpses at the thing's back and legs, and the shit starts secreting bug monsters, so that sucks. I will say the moment where Rob decides to save Beth without words is pretty well done. They do a good job of selling that this is something he needs to do, you know? Problem is, I'm not sold that this is something he needs to do. I mean, I can believe that he goes off on his own to start up this suicide mission, but the fact that the rest of the team gangs up and goes with him to me is insane. It's like the 4 stupidest people on the planet. I mean, I could be wrong, but it seems like they hardly know Beth. Like, they don't even like Beth. So I think the movie could have given them all a better reason to tag along with Rob other than they just don't want to see their friend die. So they run stupidly into the fray, band of morons that they are, and we get a nice clean shot of Clovey's face for the first time. Nice. That's the shit we're here to see. So after that, we get a nice sewer level, which is comprised mostly of 5 straight minutes of HUD uncomfortably hitting on Marlena.
For all we know, it's from another planet and it flew here.
Like Superman?
Wait, you know who Superman is?
God, that's a stupid line. What, like you've never heard of McDonald's either, or Jesus?
Oh, you know who Superman is? Are you aware of Garfield?
Whoa, she's not like other girls. By the way, I don't even know why Marlena's here. She didn't even really want to be at the party and doesn't even really know these people.
I barely even know Rob. I'm just coming to say hi to Lily, so it's a little weird if I'm even on it.
But now she's willing to go on a suicidal quest to rescue one of them? Like, what the fuck? I mean, let's be honest. She's here because HUD needs a reason to be here, and HUD needs to be here to film Rob being here, and Lily needs to be here because, well, I guess she also doesn't really have a reason to be here either. But as a female character, she diligently follows the men to her untimely death. At least seemingly. It's actually kind of unclear. So anyways, they walk through the tunnels. HUD wildly and correctly speculates on the monster's origin.
A couple of years ago, they found a fish in Madagascar that they thought had been extinct for centuries.
So what? It's been down there this whole time and nobody noticed?
Sure, maybe it erupted from an ocean trench.
Good job, man. When suddenly they're attacked by CGI bug monsters. Ah! Fuck that, I came here to see the big one. They managed to barely get away with only a few scrapes, I'm sure that won't be a problem later, and find a room to have another breakdown. This breakdown is brought to you by Mountain Dew. And at this point, you're kind of starting to figure out that the characters in this movie don't have a lot to do for the bulk of it, other than just reacting to what's going on around them. It's just them going place to place like a ride at Orlando, pointing at shit and going, whoa, and I'm documenting. There's no main thrust to our characters other than these dog shit romances that I don't care about, and I don't know why anyone is doing anything that they're doing other than Rob. You could say, well, Jason's following him because that's his brother, but Jason dies before this mission even takes place. Lily has a great excuse to leave and doesn't take it, and again, Marlena was very outspoken about not giving a fuck about these people earlier, so that makes her super likable. So they leave the subway and find the military, which is always a good thing. For a monster movie, I feel like we could use a bit more of the monster, no? We've had, what, 1 death so far, and we're an hour into the movie? Thankfully, the movie hears me out, and Marlena explodes. Oh, thank you. Point rescinded. This military guy decides to let Rob go kill himself, pretty chill of him, and they finally come across Beth's apartment building. Oh, cool, she's dead, we're leaving.
I see that guy's face. Well, we asked him what it was. I mean, they have no idea. Maybe our government made this thing. And, you know, maybe it was an accident, or maybe
they did.
Right again, HUD, you're on a fucking roll today. So Rob, SVP of good decision making that he is, decides to scale this horrifically unstable building with his 2 best buddies in the world, and in a movie filled with pretty ridiculous shit that I can for the most part get behind, this is the toughest hurdle for me. Like, once you see that building leaning on the other building, you should just be like... So they climb up ridiculously, and we find Beth, who would look dead if it wasn't for that face full of makeup telling me she's about to wake up and act, and she wakes up and acts, reminding us that these two suck together. We know nothing about them or what attracts them to each other than the rule of Hollywood that demands 2 attractive white people of opposite sexes must be in love. For all we know, Travis was a better fit for her. Don't you say that name. They somehow get down from this building, don't ask, and shit starts popping off, and it's pretty fun. The military starts bombing the shit out of this thing, and it's like roaring and fighting back while our guys scramble to stay out of the danger. Very cool. Lily manages to take an escape chopper, and it's unclear whether or not she makes it out in all the chaos. They go up in a helicopter, and we get a nice look at Clovey, and it's a sick monster design. Very unique, distinct, memorable, and cool. I can't really think of anything like it before or since. So the chopper crashes, and of course, our 3 important characters plot armor their way through it. Clovey eats HUD as punishment for his crimes against women, and we get probably our best look at the thing up close. Yeah. There is 0 reason for Rob to take this camera when HUD dies, but movies got a movie. Rob starts talking to the camera, delivers some trailer lines. Wow, she looks like she's having a really hard time. Let's stick a camera interface. And the 2 profess their love to each other before they're bombed to death. Everyone dies ending! Yeah! Well, that's a terrible ending. At the end of the credits, rather than a Clovey will return in Doomsday, we get a mysterious and creepy bit of audio that, if you play it backwards, as you would have the tools to do in a movie theater, you get a line hinting that Clovey is still alive. Whoa! I wonder what'll come of that. So overall, Cloverfield is a movie that was propped up by the marketing and the mystery around it. It's memorable for everything surrounding the movie rather than the movie itself, because if you look at just the movie without that surrounding context, it's like a 6 out of 10. I don't like any of the characters. There's not too many memorable moments beyond maybe the helicopter scene at the end, and it hits you with an everyone dies ending. Usually with these big blockbuster action movies, you could point to a scene or a sequence where you're like, oh shit, I loved that part. This movie doesn't really have that. Like, no parts come to mind in particular. It's just a lot of stuff happening to our helpless characters until it ends. At the risk of sounding redundant from my Rec series review, the found footage genre can be pretty limiting. I think Cloverfield is a pretty fun genre mashup movie, even if everything interesting about it only goes surface deep. Cool monster, big explosion, not much of a mystery. Ironic that the lore and marketing materials behind the movie are way more interesting than the movie itself. It ended up being more generic than I remembered, and the characters are dumber than I remembered. I found it hard to get on board with Rob's plan, didn't buy their romance at all, and when they start scaling a leaned over, all but collapsed building, I call bullshit. I do have a soft spot for the movie, even if I don't love it. I think the legacy this movie leaves behind and what it accomplished with its marketing was way more interesting than the movie itself. If Blair Witch Project was found footage minimalism, this movie is found footage maximalism. Lots of people, big scope, big effects, explosions, and monsters, but none of it is actually scary. But it is with this movie that we get the first hint of what a Cloverfield movie is. There's something connecting these 3 movies, some sort of air of mystery to them. Something about this series pulls me in. Tagurato, Slusho, Bed Nectar. What could these things mean? I'm not satisfied with just one movie. I need more. Alien hunting! Alien hunting! Children behave! Picking up nowhere close to where Cloverfield left off comes its sequel? Its follow-up in the series at least, 10 Cloverfield Lane. It's funny because compared to the first movie, there could not be a movie more different than the first one. Cloverfield 1 was maximalist, a giant scope and scale being viewed through a small pinhole, where this movie is incredibly scaled back. It's restrained, focused on interpersonal tension and building dread rather than a big fish monster humping the MetLife building. But before we get into the movie, I need to talk about this trailer. I think about this trailer very often. It is so perfect. Like, the trailer expresses that this movie is minimalistic in a way that the first movie was maximalistic. Maximals? Danimals? The trailer is a work of art. It might be my favorite trailer of all time. It's definitely up there. Everything about it works. It sets up these three people you know nothing about, all hanging, playing board games. The music is fun and cheery, and as it goes on, you start to get the hint that something is off. You notice the setting. Are they in like a bunker? The expressions on their faces, they don't look so happy to be here. The music starts to slow, we see a gun, John Goodman getting worked up, all leading up to this climax of Michelle smashing him in the face with a bottle and making a desperate escape. Oh! They were prisoners. She runs up, John Goodman pleads for her to stop. He sounds sincere, not angry. She runs to the door, peers out the window, and sees something that takes her aback, and that's when we get the title. Bam! Cloverfield. Oh. Fuck, she's seeing some kind of sci-fi stuff out there. Immediately, you're like, what is she seeing? That remind you of anything? They're accomplishing that same level of interest and mystery generated from the first movie, but with a key difference of interesting characters. You don't want to know more. You need to know more. It's genius. I love it. And on top of that, marketing-wise, they doubled down hard on their innovative ARG marketing campaign, expanding and growing it bigger than the first one in a completely non-invasive way to the main thrust of the story. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about or what the ARG even is, you don't miss out on anything in the main story. It completely serves its purpose as bonus material. If you want to know more, you can. If not, no sweat. Again, I'm not going to go super in depth into the ARG, but basically, if you're curious, it delves more into Howard's work history and his relationship with his daughter Megan. It also provides the only connection, thin as it may be, to the original Cloverfield movie in the form of the Tagurato Corporation. We see a long, sad string of messages of Howard trying to connect with Megan and warn her about the upcoming attack from the Soviets. It got very complicated, including real-life hidden caches for people following along to find, like in the real world. It was a very cool idea and a nice expansion on what they did with the first movie, though I can't really speak on how satisfying it was to actually watch the movie after all this internet sleuthing and hunting around, but let's get into that. When I think of the movie 10 Cloverfield Lane, the word that comes to mind is economical. It's a movie that doesn't waste 1 second of your time. It has a very limited scope, mostly takes place in one location, and follows only 3 characters. It's almost not even a sci-fi, just being sci-fi in series name alone, except for that lovely, lovely ending. For those uninitiated, 10 Cloverfield Lane follows Michelle, a woman who, after escaping a breakup, gets her car T-boned and wakes up in a dank cellar chained to the wall. John Goodman comes into the room and tells her that while she was knocked out, all life outside of that cellar went to shit. There was an apocalypse, and staying in here with him is the only way she can survive.
The meteor destroyed our society, Butters. Now Earth is ruled by packs of wild humans gone mad. No!
As the story goes on, we learn more and more about John Goodman and their overall situation. We get hints as to what's going on at the surface, and the movie is this. It's this back and forth between whether or not you believe his story. At first, he seems like a total nutball, conspiracy theorist, doomsday prepper. But then, we see that something is going on above ground. We just don't know what. We see that he's got a bit of a temper. He has a fragile sense of pride and wants to feel seen and respected by those in his care. He wants to be the king of this small world that he's created, and he won't hear any different. There's also Emmett, played by John Gallagher Jr., who seems to corroborate his story, telling Michelle he actively fought to get into that cellar. And every scene from the moment she wakes up in that cellar is a push-pull of what to believe. You learn that Emmett trusts Howard, but in the same breath, you also learn that Emmett maybe isn't the smartest guy.
Russia, South Korea.
You mean North Korea?
Is that the crazy one?
You empathize with Howard after learning about how he lost his daughter, but when you hear his wife turned her against him, you wonder how he played a role in scaring them off. It's this constant back and forth of information. Everything feels like one step forward, one step back, and none of this would be as effective as it is without John Goodman's performance as Howard. If the first movie owed much of its inspiration from the Blair Witch Project, this film owes a lot to the Stephen King story and probably the great film adaptation, misery. Howard holds all the power, clearly has something off about him, and has a very strict set of rules and values that he expects everyone to adhere to without question. The Howard and Annie Wilkes connection is an interesting one. Both very emotionally stunted people hold our protagonists in high regard, desperate to protect them for some reason. For Annie, it's her admiration of Paul's writing, and in 10 Cloverfield Lane, it's Howard's weird sense of paternal protection, slash possibly something more sinister as we come to learn. He wants to be seen as the provider that he wasn't able to be for his own daughter.
And you need to start showing me a little bit of appreciation.
He's got this strange masculine view of Michelle, always referring to her doing traditionally feminine things, hinting that she'll be doing the cooking for them, but where this comes out most is in his relationship with Emmett. He is very threatened by Emmett. Specifically, Emmett getting physical with Michelle. He fucking hates this guy. You're constantly reframing how you see Howard throughout the movie, all the way until Michelle finds out what he's been hiding. Oh, he's kidnapping people. Oh yeah, no, you're a bad guy. I'm leaving. When Michelle finds out the truth about Howard, her and Emmett plan their escape, only for Emmett to end up melted in a barrel, so that sucks. From that point on, it's all about escape, but to what? From my understanding, this movie was developed completely unrelated to any Cloverfield anything, just put together as a story called The Cellar before Damien Chazelle came in to retrofit the story into the movie we saw on screen. The main overall story was pretty much the same, with key changes. It sounds like the original script was a lot more focused on Michelle's arc going from helpless captor to assertive badass, where in the movie, she's pretty fucking self-assured out the gate. I mean, one of the first things we see her do is whittle a crutch down to a spear and prepare to stab John Goodman in the heart. This is before she knows all the bad stuff about him. That's badass. You'd think the whole world being apocalypsed outside would be a Cloverfield revision, right? But no, it was there from the beginning. Though, with a few key changes, the biggest and most prominent change is Michelle's fight with the alien ship at the end. In the original story, Howard chases her up out of the cellar, they have a fight, she fends him off and gets away, only to look over and see the city destroyed. Meaning, shit, Howard might have been telling the truth. Arguably, that's really the only part of this movie that makes it sci-fi, and therefore a Cloverfield movie, whatever that is. And I think it's worth saying that this movie got to determine what a Cloverfield movie could be. It doesn't have to be found footage. It doesn't even have to be a monster movie. So then why not have Cloverfield monsters running around instead of these big UFO things? I don't really know. A recent movie that reminded me a lot of this kind of push-pull I'm talking about is Begonia. Kind of has that will they, won't they with full-on sci-fi ridiculousness. And I love that in both cases, they just fully commit to it. So let's talk about the turn, when this movie just completely goes for it. Look, whether you love it or hate it, you can't argue that this movie has balls. It looks you dead in the eye, takes a big drag of its cigarette, and after making you wait the full length of the movie for an answer to what's going on, leans in super close to you and without a hint of sarcasm, utters the words, "Alien spaceships."
Come on.
That takes a certain level of confidence that you gotta respect. So not only was Howard right, he was right. The poison gas, the alien invasion, the complete global takeover, woo! I mean, I guess he was wrong about the radioactive fallout, maybe kinda. I mean, we don't really see Michelle get instantly irradiated by her taking the mask off, so you gotta assume she's fine. But I was looking at this sequence of her in the car fighting off this alien spaceship, and I'm like, where have I seen this before? I mean, at least she has the decency to make her own explosive instead of just finding a lucky belt of hand grenades. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for respecting my intelligence. Everything in this movie is executed in a very smart way. It's written simply and down to its core. It's all actions and consequences, setups and payoffs in little and big ways throughout the entire movie. I love it. I would love it whether it was connected to this franchise or not. I mean, it's already pretty fucking thinly connected. I mean, the shot with the mailbox is an insert. This one holds a special place in my heart for its simplicity and ability to execute a story that's simple, grounded, down to earth. Okay, you know where I'm going with this.
It's not gay if it's on the moon.
So fuck it, yeah, let's go to space. In space, no one can hear you suck. So to round out our trilogy, we have the Cloverfield Paradox. And it wouldn't be a Cloverfield movie without some weird marketing plan. You know all the intricate, layered, and deep, thoughtful marketing put into the first two movies? The innovative ARG we created to generate hype and get people to feel like the movie was a culmination of some bigger event that we've been tactically leading breadcrumbs toward for weeks? Yeah, what if we just didn't do any of that? It feels like they watched the movie and were like, yeah, we don't know about this one, guys. Does anyone feel like writing deep and layered character histories for any of these people? No? So they dumped this movie out like you drop a hooker on the side of the highway. No fanfare, no build-up, just a thud and an experience we all regret. I mean, I think they drove that fucking Slusho truck around a few cities for a bit, but that's all. So they dropped their first trailer during the Super Bowl, ending with the message, oh shit, what, like today? Now? In hindsight, it was hype for the moment just on raw emotion alone, but I'm not sure if this was the best marketing strategy for the film's lifelong health. I mean, it definitely got us excited. Even if showing footage from Cloverfield 1 seems a bit misleading in hindsight, but hey, you know, anything to get you hyped. Looking back, it's not really something you would do for a movie you really believed in, right? It was a cool, unique drop, but we almost didn't have time to process that this was probably a red flag. And I gotta say, I think this is a great premise for a space movie. You know, you're up there doing your astronaut thing, press a few buttons, turn around, and the Earth is gone! Ah, shit. In true Cloverfield fashion, I actually really like everything surrounding this movie. The premise, again, is great. It's got a solid cast, and I like its non-traditional marketing. The title even inspires some kind of awe and mystery that I think is really cool. This movie is also a first for the franchise in a really big way, in that after 10 Cloverfield Lane, this was the first Cloverfield sequel to actually be developed as a Cloverfield movie. So, what do they got? Well, it's not great. It's a weird shit happening in space movie. You know, one of those. If Cloverfield 1 was Blair Witch, 2 was Misery, 3 is Cloverfield Does Event Horizon. That's certainly a choice. When I think of this movie, I think of its great premise, a floppy arm.
That's my fucking arm.
And a haunted house in space. It's very horror forward in a way the other two aren't, but in a way that comes across as more, I don't know, try hard than the other two. It's also very stupid in a way the other two aren't. So our film follows our main character, fucking Hamilton, played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw, which sounds like something Jabba the Hutt would say. Sick name. As she speaks with her husband about needing to go on this mission to space to save the world. You know, typical stuff. Something, something, Earth's resources, something, something, one last hope, something, something, work together toward a common goal. And you see the problem already, right? The movie's look, the setup, all of it is really by the numbers movie stuff, which makes it pretty forgettable. I can like feel the movie self-deleting from my brain minute by minute.
And this mission could unlock an endless supply of
Hey,
power.
can you guys speak the fuck up? I need to hear something. So then we cut to Hamilton in space with all these other characters on her team, all from other countries on one ship to save the Earth. Sounds like a great idea. A cool-ish concept that this movie plays with is the idea that while our characters are up in space working on their stuff, the countries back on Earth all have escalating tensions and even start to go into open war with each other during all this. Which honestly makes me question why they would give our ship access to the news. Maybe not a great idea. Can't possibly see how that could go wrong. A wacky guy on the news says that their little experiment might just happen to maybe, I don't know, rip open portals to other dimensions to let a bunch of monsters in. Not just now, but all throughout time. And you get the point. This movie is supposed to provide some sort of explanation for the other movies, possibly even more movies down the line, that could take place in any time period with this explanation. I mean, just look at Overlord coming out later that year by Bad Robot. I was convinced that was going to be connected after this explanation, especially with this, you know, all throughout time thing. Rip Overlord, we hardly knew ye. But I've got a few thoughts on this whole thing. First of all, didn't we already get an explanation as to how Clovey got there in the first movie from the ARG? You know, all that stuff about Slusho, Tagurato, Bed Nectar, drilling, and waking up a thing that was always there.
What about what HUD said?
Second, if this movie provides an in-universe explanation for all this weird sci-fi goings-on, it's way too broad to be interesting. Like, you're essentially saying any monster can come out and harass the Earth anywhere across all time in any universe. That could be literally anything. Why would I be interested in that? So this whole explanation is A, one that we didn't need, 2, contradicts the in-canon ARG, and lastly, kind of just makes me less interested in the franchise knowing that none of my previous characters will show up. So in my opinion, it's a weird thing to do to provide an in-canon explanation for what's basically just an anthology at this point. If it is an anthology, just be an anthology. But if it's gonna be interconnected, why bury the connections in so much bullshit? But you know, turns out all of this is just setting up one big unearned reveal at the end. So they try a thing, shoot a big beam, at first it doesn't work, and then it does. Why? I don't know, man, I just work here. So this is like the thinnest excuse for wacky sci-fi antics I've ever seen. We experimented with a thing. Now weird stuff happens to us, is really all we get. But also going back to the premise, you know, something I thought was a positive for this movie, the idea of them tampering with shit and then they turn around and the Earth disappeared, isn't even a cool moment in the movie. It's just and it's gone. But even worse, the Earth didn't even disappear, as we find out later. They just moved, and it's like no longer in view. Well, that's not the same thing. Do these astronauts and scientists have no fucking object permanence just because the Earth isn't right in front of them must mean that we've teleported to a dimension where the Earth doesn't exist? And after this, the entire rest of the movie is just a space haunted house of weird things happening to our characters, with them dying one by one, and it's exactly the kind of thing you'd expect. I mean, look, there are some cool deaths. This freezing water death is pretty memorable. But everything in this movie just feels so ham-fisted and forced to get us to these moments, and I'm sorry, they're too few and far between to hold my interest. The music's generic, the set designs and characters are dull, the look of it is and it all just feels like stuff we've seen before. It's like the quality of an okay episode of Black Mirror. I mean, there's nothing worse in one of these movies than just having so many scenes going, what's going on? And characters trying to logic their way out of a story that doesn't play by any logic. It's like trying to solve a murder mystery when the guy died of natural causes. There's nothing to solve, guys. Like, look, I get when multiverses start crashing and there's a new woman who shows up from a dimension where they bring her on the ship instead of Hamilton. That's cool. That's cool. You know, seeing her clip through a wall and having wires all through her body is like fun, even though it's crazy that she would even exist remotely in the same space that they're in because of, you know, the vastness of space. But hey, fucking sure, ignore that. But how the fuck do you explain this guy's wiggly arm? You know, how do you explain that not only does the arm have sentience, isn't bleeding all over the place, but also has information that it can provide to our characters? How does the arm know shit that our characters don't? And unfortunately, the answer here is you can't explain it. Which, in a movie that didn't ask me to sit through a bunch of science explainy scenes, is fine. It is a fun visual and gives this movie more of a personality, but it doesn't fit with the tone of the rest of the series here. So, you know, there is a problem with calling this a Cloverfield movie. You can't just tell me that this is a series where you can do anything. There's an established tone and vibe to these things that once you break it, it's like, what are we doing? It's like a bad Prometheus. Sorry, worse Prometheus. You know, asking you to dig up so much lore in order to justify some of the weird shit you're seeing on screen, but you know for a fact that they were just creating all this stuff for the excuse of having a zombie space guy and a baby sharktopus eating a handsome Squidward to shit out an alien. You know, like, the visuals are primary, it's a visual medium, and then the lore is retrofitted in order to try to explain some of the insane shit you're seeing on screen. It's not a way to make a movie, guys. Anyway, I'm getting worked up. Let's cut back to Earth. I don't say this a lot, but the entire plot line on Earth following Hamilton's husband, I guess also Hamilton, Mr. Hamilton, is entirely pointless. For the life of me, I could not tell you why this guy is in the movie. Throughout the story, we keep cutting back to this guy running around a bunch of chaos on Earth, I guess in some kind of parallel to the first Cloverfield, but all the disastrous shit going on around him is left so vague that we don't know what's going on and don't know enough about this guy to care. You think that it's building up to something, even though it doesn't really feel like it, but it's just a huge nothing burger, I swear. It's all, I guess, supposed to build up to seeing a big Cloverfield monster for a split second at the very end, but when that happens, it feels like it comes out of fucking nowhere. You know, it wasn't properly set up or built up with this guy's storyline. He runs around some explosions, asks people what's going on, finds a kid, steals the kid. Oh, okay, so this will be his storyline. He'll like connect with this kid and find the kid's parent and he'll be a hero. No. They have like 2 scenes together with him promising to find her parents, and that's the last time we see them. So what the fuck was that? What a waste of my time. I'm getting worked up again. Let's go back to fucking space. Maybe the best shot of this movie is this shot of a foosball table right after they save Jensen from the wall. Get it? Because the bar goes through the... Okay. Fun fact about me, I hate eyeball stuff. So this guy's eye starts having problems, people start hearing voices, there's a thing in someone's skin, and I'm just like, why is all this happening again? What multiversal fuckery leads to, what, a dimension where this guy has a lazy eye? It's all truly just fucking weird for the sake of weird. And then this guy's head explodes into worms, okay. Okay, so they travel to a parallel dimension where this person existed, changing everything down to the photos on their ship, but not them themselves? How does that work? Their clothes, their memories aren't affected, but the ship itself is? But wait, the people are affected because Jensen's here, so which is it? And now that we think about it, there is some, I guess, weird body horror stuff, but other than that, is it even a horror movie? I guess if you have a collection of very weird, hyper-specific fears, this might freak you out. Like, this guy's hand gets stuck in a wall. It's a cool image, but is it scary or just kind of weird? And I gotta say, this guy's being pretty chill for all this Looney Tunes ass shit that's affecting him right now.
There's any chance it might grow back?
Chris O'Dowd really does his best here. He injects some much needed personality to this crew of stale crackers. And it can't be easy. He gets some really tough lines to get out and nails the read on most of them.
I think my arm's trying to write something.
So the sentient arm directs them to find a mechanical ball in this dude's stomach. Was it there before? I don't know. How did the arm know? I don't know. Does it make any sense if you pay close enough attention? Hey, I doubt it. Let's see them try to ARG their way out of this shit. So as a result, they find out that they're actually in another dimension, and all they have to do is fire the thing again to send them back home. I'm sorry, would that just not make it worse? Like, do you tie a shoe by untying it further? What fucking world are we living in? So I don't know, the movie keeps going. Hey, look, another bunker. I remember the movie with the bunker. Hamilton finds out she's in a dimension where she didn't deep fry her family with a car heater or whatever the fuck she did to kill them all. So now she wants to stay. Oh yeah, before she killed her whole family. That's like her baggage. So I guess I should have mentioned that. She's convinced she needs to not only stay in this dimension, but go down there and save her family from herself. Well, no, you don't. In your dimension, you stole energy to give them nightlights and stuff to make them feel safer while you're gone in space. But in this dimension, you never go to space. So you don't need to comfort them, you don't need to steal energy so they don't get Kentucky Fried Family'd. You don't need to steal any energy here unless you want to give them a faster internet speed one day or something, and then in that case, kablam! Let's see, what other weird stuff can we do? How about magnets? You ever look at a magnet and you're like, how's that work? It's freaky. So they get invaded by the dimension where metal glue comes to life and grabs people, and it kills Chris O'Dowd. He explodes for good measure, and he dies, taking with it any semblance of personality this movie had. Now Jensen has a big problem with Hamilton's new family plan and smacks her in the face. Doesn't kill her, so really just delays her plan more than anything. While she's unconscious, Jensen puts her in a pod to send her down to Earth 2, but she wakes up and goes, no! I don't know why she doesn't just go. That's all she wants, right? To see her family? I mean, it'd be a lot easier to track if we saw some of the issues that they're trying to solve on Earth, you know, instead of just being told all this shit. If only we had a character that wasn't really doing much down there that we could use to show that. So she kills Jensen, saves Schmidt, does the right thing, and goes home. She sends a message to herself to cherish her family or whatever, and gives her the plans to build a shepherd to help this world too. They fire the thing, and whatever they did makes it work this time. I don't know why. So they gear up and go back home, intense music plays, the day is saved, and all is well. Until them going back to Earth with the other guys screaming, no, you don't know what you're coming back to, is the best scene in the movie. The thing is, you spent a whole movie creating nothing but bad will for your audience, so by the time we get to this moment, we don't care about any of these people. So when the Cloverfield monster shows up at the end, it's shocking, yeah, but it's also the latest in a long string of weird, unexplained shit, so that when the movie ends, you're just like, okay. It doesn't feel like a twist or even really an ending. I'm confused about a lot of things, but mostly I'm confused about what universe we're in or how we got here. You know, like they thought they saved their universe, but I guess they just fucked it up worse. Cloverfield Paradox is a weird one, but it's weird for the sake of weird. Characters, including and especially our protagonist, are really dull and uninteresting. The story feels like a thin excuse to stitch together body horror moments, but it doesn't even really do that well. And the movie as a whole is just forgettable and kinda dumb. Not fun dumb, irritatingly dumb. You know, overly complicated and still doesn't make any sense dumb. I think the movie hopes if it just keeps throwing terms and big words at you, you'll shut up and stop asking questions. Well, I don't know what the fuck they're saying, so they must be really smart. At the end of the day, it's a compilation of things that we've all seen done better in other stuff. It's a haunted house in space, but without the Event Horizon blood orgy. And without that, what's even the point? I think another major reason why this movie feels so out of place in the Cloverfield series, outside of the fact that it's, you know, literally in space, is that the previous two movies worked within a framework of telling their story through a very specific lens. You know, the first movie had that juxtaposition of seeing a giant, grandiose thing through such a small frame. You know, seeing something crazy, disastrous through the lens of a shitty digital camera. And then the second movie, while all this crazy stuff was going on outside, all the sci-fi stuff going on outside of this bunker is all being told to you secondhand. You just need to trust this guy. So it kind of limits the scope in that way. And then when you get to Cloverfield Paradox, you kind of just drop all of that. The movie cuts around from this space station to Earth and just kind of shows you all the information it needs to show you at any given time. There's no limiters, there's no restrictions. And that, I think, has been a defining characteristic of these movies up until this point. That's kind of why this feels a little off here. It also is kind of the reason why it feels a little generic. There's no real clear POV here. The first two movies were almost characterized by their POV, you know, whether it's through HUD's digital camera or through Michelle's interpretation of Howard's words. So to kind of drop that whole idea here, it feels a little, I don't know, disingenuous to the series. Bad movie. So now that we've taken a look at all three movies, let's revisit our central question. What is a Cloverfield movie? Is it just a blanket IP for sci-fi movies that happen to be made by Bad Robot? I would argue that it is more than that. With all that we've learned, even though these movies seem incredibly different, I think you can present a list of commonalities. I mean, starting off with the basics, they're all sci-fi movies, usually with unconventional marketing focused on lore building and creating a mystery behind the presented story itself. I think they're stories told within a limited scope, characters trying to comprehend some sort of wild sci-fi shit that's slapped onto their plate out of nowhere. There's almost like a modern Lovecraftian element to these stories that I think gives it the ability to transcend genre in a way that it has, which I think is really cool. I mean, think about it. How many different franchises can make a tense, claustrophobic, interpersonal thriller, a monster disaster movie, and a multiverse traveling space adventure? I mean, how awesome is it that people can see a trailer for an upcoming movie about Nazi zombies and think that it could be under the same umbrella as, you know, this movie that takes place in a basement? Cloverfield is unique in that way. It's what makes it special. I think that if they continue to make more, they should stick to what they do best. Go back to feeding that online excitement. Try some wild, crazy new marketing plan and do something wildly different. I think boldness is another key factor in these movies that goes unappreciated. Whatever they decide to do, they do not do it shyly. I like that. So while this might be the weirdest group of movies all under the same umbrella, and while they might not all be home runs, I like that it's a series willing to try new, wild, bold, and crazy things with each release. So those are my thoughts on the Cloverfield movies. Let me know what you think. Which one is your favorite? Which one is your least favorite? I mean, I think that's, maybe that's pretty obvious. Did you follow along any of this ARG stuff? If you made it to the end, thank you so much. If you're into stuff like this, let me know and I'll do some more. But for the time being, check out my other stuff. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.